Welcome to another edition of Inside Guyana. Today in our studio we have some special guests. Our cameraman is Ravi and our producer Prakash. So ladies and gentlemen, viewers of ITV, I would like to ask you to join me in welcoming two special personality to our program Inside Guyana today. They are Mr. Kyle Thomas Lynch. He is the partner, managing partner of the firm, the law firm BaintonLynch. And a very famous name, one of the Jagans, or Jagan as you would like to say, the granddaughter of Dr. Vrinda Jagan, the late former president of Guyana. So, welcome, Vrinda.
Thank you.
First of all, to our program Inside Guyana. It's nice having you here. And Mr. Lynch, it is a pleasure having you on our program Inside Guyana.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I'm sure our viewers are very anxious to know a little bit about who these two wonderful personalities are. So I will ask you, first of all, Madam Vrinda Jagan, to please tell our viewers a little bit about yourself. Apart from, we know that you're the granddaughter of the Jagans, your mother and father, or grandparents, sorry, grandmother and grandfather, they were presidents of Guyana, and it's a very privileged position to be in, to be the grandchild of two presidents. So what else would you tell our viewers about yourself?
First of all, I'd like to thank you, Rudy, for having me here. I appreciate it. As he discussed, I am the granddaughter of the former late presidents, Dr. Jagan and Mrs. Jagan. I am also the eldest daughter of Joey and Nadia Jagan, and I am an attorney here in New York. We have several offices from Manhattan, Queens, Garden City, and East Hampton. I'm a part of BaintonLynch. I'm a partner. And we practice in all areas of the law. Personally, I focus in immigration, workers' compensation, two areas that really deal with the working class people.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lynch, how would you introduce yourself to our viewers today?
My name is Kyle T. Lynch. I'm the managing partner of BaintonLynch LLP, which was formed about 4 years ago. Starting back, the history's firm goes back to the days when my father was an FBI agent under J. Edgar Hoover and became a lawyer after that. And our firm has been in existence since his becoming an attorney, going to the FBI and joining with two smaller gentlemen in Williston Park, New York, very close to Queens here. And we've had a very long tradition of being a very prominent law firm that pursues justice and truth, not only with the rich and famous, but also with all those who need it.
Mr. Lynch, I understand that you work for the International Court of Rights, and you also work with some Venezuelan law firm. Is that so? Can you tell us a little bit?
Yes, that is true. Yes. During my law school experience and afterwards, I was given the great opportunity to go to San Jose, Costa Rica, and work with the International Court of Rights during the time in which they were doing the genocide trials in regards to Colombia back in 2000. From there, I went to Caracas, Venezuela, and worked for a very prominent law firm ran by Karel Bentada called Bentada Abogados. And in both countries, it was a great experience to see how those countries live, the cultures, the diversity was one of the most outstanding things that I saw. When I arrived in Caracas, Karel Bentada had a murder right in front of his front door of his office due to corruption, crime, which is a very prevalent issue in South America.
I think corruption and crime and other issues, we might have to have a separate interview for that, because that might be something
Anytime
interesting to hear your views on that.
I'd love to.
Now, Vrinda, Let us start with you here today in this interview. You, I understand, do provide professional legal services to the Guyanese community. You have an office on Liberty Avenue.
Of course.
I want to ask you, not about your law firm and your relationship to your clients, but maybe Guyanese, you know, they like to talk a lot and they're very friendly. And I'm sure they all love you very much. Do they sometimes ask you your views on things related to Guyana? And very often they would like to ask you about politics, since your grandfather and your name and your father, they're all involved in Guyanese politics.
You know, I do get questioned about politics very often, and I'm always flattered that people respect my opinion and they want my point of view. But, you know, it comes with the territory. I was born into a family that gave their lives to politics and gave their lives to Guyana. And so more often than not, I have people, clients, sometimes I have people that come up into the office and they just want to shake my hand or reminisce, and it often turns to politics, so yes.
As an active member of the Guyanese community, what are some of the most prevalent issues that they come to you with from the perspective of an attorney?
You know, we handle a wide range of issues. I have a huge immigration practice, and people come to me for criminal, for lots of different issues. I mean, if we don't personally handle it within the firm, we refer it out to somebody that's capable of providing good legal advice. But one of the most disturbing issues that comes in the Queen's office is domestic violence, unfortunately. And as most people know, Guyana is one of the, within the Caribbean, has one of the highest levels of domestic violence. And unfortunately, I think that's trickled into our communities here in New York, and it's very unfortunate. And actually, Kyle, my partner, he is very, very active out of our East Hampton office with promoting awareness for domestic violence. And
Thank you very much. That would lead us to the next question to Mr. Lynch here. Can you please tell us what are some of the issues that you know of that your law firm deals with that are associated with Guyanese and Guyana?
Oh, definitely. Having met Vrinda Jagan several years ago, you might call me ignorant, but I did not have a very good knowledge of Guyana, nor who she was. I met her at a continuing legal education course, which is required for lawyers to attend, and I bumped into her, and you have that uncomfortable feeling sometimes that, you know what, this person is different. And just the sense of integrity, truthfulness that she had, and the ambition to move forward in this legal profession as such a young person and a woman and of Guyanese descent. In the legal community, that is looked down upon. And what I do in regards to dealing with the Guyanese community directly is we have maintained Ms. Jagan's practice in the Richmond Hill area that supports 99% of the Guyanese people, of which we then delegate a lot of pro bono work and work at extremely lower prices. And myself and my partners and my associates will travel from our main location in East Hampton to Queens, New York, to Manhattan, to help the Guyanese people with such issues which some might feel minor, as a landlord-tenant issue in which a Guyanese woman is being kicked out for false allegations of subletting her apartment. She's going to lose her home. It doesn't matter who she is in regards to, in my eyes, or the firm's perspective, this is a woman that needs help and is being taken advantage of. And I will drive 4 hours to get to Queens by 9 o'clock from East Hampton in the pursuit of making sure the right thing is done for those within the Guyanese community.
So you've been very helpful to them, I guess.
That would be for the Guyanese community to say. My helpfulness is just my donation of time and compassion for all those that are in need of it. Lawyers are not cheap, but there are also not a lot of good lawyers.
Thank you very much, sir. Vrinda, now we've been watching the news recently on BBC and on all the news channel. There's a baby born in the royal family, and everybody's talking about that celebrity baby, and they forgot people are dying in other countries. There's war going on, but they're focusing so much on this celebrity baby of a big family. You grew up in a prominent family with a big name. All the Guyanese know that name, and they're very influential. Your parents and your grandparents, and I'm sure you'd probably want to share with us how being a member of such a prominent family affects you positively or negatively. What are some of the benefits and what are some of the disadvantages?
You know, listen, I can't say that there are really many disadvantages of having grown up in a family such as my own, except that I'm held to a very high standard. A lot is expected of me, but I rise to the challenge. I am who I am because of what I've learned about my family, what I've seen about my family. A lot of people grow up idolizing different icons and heroes, and I grew up idolizing my grandparents. You know, Vrinda Jagan, I mean, you don't meet men like that. The world lost a great hero when he died. And his integrity, his humility, his good heart. I mean, it's just, you don't come across people like that. And I am who I am because of them. And, you know, to me, that's a great benefit because I learned a lot from them. And I try to channel them in my daily life. You know, I try to live my life in a way that I think they would want me to live. And, you know, I'd say one of the negatives is I have very huge shoes to fill, and I probably will never fill them, but I can keep trying the best I can.
I think you have the ability and the potential to actually do that, and maybe even more, so you just have to try harder. Mr. Lynch, coming back to you now, you've been working in partnership with Guyanese and Vrinda very closely. What are some of the issues that you know of about Guyana and Guyana politics in particular that you might want to share your views on? I know you seem to have a very strong view on matters.
Well, I think the matters in regards to politics and regarding Guyana are those in which are seen in many countries. It doesn't...
What are some specific ones on Guyana itself that you know of?
Right. What I could say from being exposed to some of the campaign platforms is everybody is complaining about corruption, okay? Both sides. What is going to correct that corruption is what I have not heard by either side.
Do you have recommendations then? Let us hear it from you.
I am not Guyanese. I do not live in Guyana.
No, but you can recommend.
Of course I can. Why don't we look at it like this? Like a whale. How do you eat a whale? One bite at a time, okay? We can't take such a huge problem like corruption and think it's going to disappear just by one election. It needs to be an integration of both parties, all Guyanese together, who must take action, not words. Words are nothing. You must take the action in order to address the problem and try to correct it in whatever capacity you can. Some can do it more because they're more affluent, and some that are in the poverty-stricken can do it. And how they can do it is by getting out and voting for what they believe which party will start to institute that and listen to them.
Vrinda, you've been hearing from the various platforms here. You know the PPP has their program that they're putting forward to the people, asking for their votes at this upcoming election, May the 11th. And you also have been hearing what the coalition has to offer. What are some of the key issues that you think Guyana should be focusing on at this time?
You know, it touches on exactly what Kyle just said. I think what we as Guyanese need to focus on and hold our leaders accountable for is corruption. I think, you know, there's a lot of corruption that wouldn't have existed had my grandfather been alive, and you know, it's sad and it's heartbreaking, and I think we need to focus on eliminating that and holding everyone accountable for the corruption, and we need to focus on getting rid of that corruption, because only then can we better our people, and ultimately they're the ones that continue to suffer. They continue to suffer in different kind of ways, and it's, again, it's heartbreaking. I see it every day, and it breaks my heart, and I wish I could do more, but I'm only one person, and we need to focus on bettering the education, eliminating the poverty, and ending the corruption. It just needs to end. It's 2015.
Let us roll over to Mr. Lynch here. Ending the corruption, that's what you mentioned just now, and other issues related to that, crime, poverty. How would you, from the perspective of a reputable attorney at law who has worked in the International Court of Rights, how do you manage to, or would like to advise the Guyanese people to manage these negative social problems?
These social problems are not something I would like to just comment on. It's something that, you know, being exposed to and having a partner that is very involved with her country, her homeland, is to actively participate in helping them. I can give you all the words in my personal thoughts of what should occur. But those, once again, as I say, words without actions do not speak anything.
Now, what I want to probably ask you also is that how your law form would play a role in assisting Guyanese in getting out of their predicament, let's call it that for now, the social and legal issues of abuse that was mentioned earlier, and so on.
Well, here in Queens, which I've been exposed to solely in regards to the Guyanese people, domestic violence doesn't stop when they cross the border from Guyana to New York. Domestic violence is something that happens within the United States every 1 second. The leading cause of death of pregnant women is domestic violence. And these issues happen worldwide. Rich, famous, poor, it does not discriminate. And then it goes into the other issues which have been addressed within this campaign in Guyana in regards to crime. You know, crime, alcoholism, these all are contributing factors that lead to domestic violence. So in regards to my advice is for the people to take action from the top. It all starts at the top and it trickles down. But if you are dealing with major drug issues, as such as there was recently a Guyanese woman who was caught at the airport trafficking drugs here in New York, that doesn't give a good impression. But sometimes people have nothing else, no one else, or no other means to make an income. And focusing on that within the Guyanese community, here I believe there's a lot more camaraderie between all of the Guyanese here in Queens than there is at home.
I'm very surprised that you're speaking on that subject in that manner. Being an attorney, you would have liked to, because you're going to get jobs. You're going to have to defend these people. You know.
It's not about money for me. This is about the people.
For the Queens-based office, again, I'm very passionate about my Guyanese, and it's not just Guyanese. We have a lot of clients from the Caribbean coming into the Queens office. And I don't mean to separate the offices because we're one firm with a staff of attorneys and you know, so, but the Queens office, I'm very passionate about it. It's a lot of my own people and identify as someone from the Caribbean. And we're helping people that are often victimized by attorneys and people in positions of power. And so I make it a mission to, again, I was fought, not from Kyle, but from other people within the firm, on keeping prices low for queens, because it's not about that. It's about giving legal guidance and proper legal guidance at a fair price, because most people from Guyana, the Caribbean, you know,
they can't
don't
afford
have
a lot,
much.
right.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but they're starting over. They're over here trying to make a better life, and we as attorneys can't take advantage. And in the Hamptons office, we have a huge Hispanic population, and we offer them affordable rates as well. To each his own. We try to help as many people as we can.
So
we really do.
You're saying basically that you actually provide services, legal services, to people, especially in the Guyanese community, at a very competitive price. Is that correct?
Yes.
You're going to find out. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a bold statement to say I challenge someone to find better rates than my Queen's office, but I know for a fact that I'm offering good rates for what we do. You know, not every case can be dealt with at a very low price. You know, if it's a felony crime, you have to, you know, account for that, and every case is different. I take cases by case analysis, and I analyze what I will have to do, and I justify a fee based upon the work that I have to do. And I think that's the right way to do it.
And I believe that it's not the fee, it's the services being provided. BaintonLynch is a very prominent law firm. We have gone from East Hampton to Manhattan, and we have sections of offices within Queens, based with Vrinda, Garden City, where I originally grew up, and we offer the pricing not to just be able to allow people to pay for the services, but we are providing great legal services to those people for minimum wages.
Do you do also on a pro bono basis?
Yes, we do.
Charity stuff?
Yes, we have
Absolutely.
I have a mandated policy within our firm that we take on at least one pro bono case a month.
A month.
And we also, it's a triangle of family, work, community. And every one of my attorneys must focus on those areas, especially the community, in regards to networking out, helping children. I work with Project Most out in East Hampton, which is for mostly Latin young children who are parents are illegally here and can't afford after-day daycare, okay? But most people think in the Hamptons, those things don't happen. They do.
Your telephone number is on the screen, you know that. So a lot of people are going to call you for your services.
Well, they all do. The churches come to me all the time. There's a lot of faith within the Latin communities, and that's why we've brought in the domestic violence and the immigration issues, because it all ties together. Regards to immigration, criminal law, having a detrimental regards to immigration statuses, and it all flows from domestic violence, because that's how they come to me first.
And you know, I think this all ties back into money isn't everything. And you know, unfortunately, a lot of people in Guyana have seemed to have forgotten that. They don't seem to realize that it's not about how much money you have, it's about the good that you can do. And that's what my grandparents stood for, let's be honest. That's what they stood for. You know, they didn't care about that kind of stuff. So I tried to live that in my everyday life, and you can say what you want about me, but I try my best.
And with that philosophy, that's one of the main reasons which I have partnered up with Vrinda in regards to not only talking, but taking action.
Throughout this interview, I've noticed that whatever we say, Vrinda comes back to Guyana. You can see her heart is actually there. I mean, I didn't ask her, but she's turning us back to Guyana. All of them come back to Guyana by Guyanese people. And I think that's a reflection of your heritage and the character of your traits. I'm sure you had very good upbringing, and the genes in you is actually pure Guyanese. Vrinda, now you know Guyana is going to have elections very soon, and I think you might want to share with us, and all the people watching this program here might be most interested to hear what you have to say. You have interacted with your grandparents, the Jagans, Janet Jagan and Chetty Jagan, and you might probably be in the best position today to tell them what you think. Had your grandmother been alive today, let's start with her, what she would have said or would have liked you to say on her behalf to the Guyanese voters going to the polls on May the 11th?
I think had my grandmother been alive today, she would be encouraging voters to focus on the youth and the children. They are our future, and we need to focus on providing incentives for them and educating them and promoting our children. It's just, you know, it's a shame that we aren't giving back to our kids, because they're the ones that are going to suffer. And I know my grandmother loved children. She wrote, you know, children's books and lots of stories. And I know that she would want the Guyanese voters to focus on electing a party, whoever it may be, that will help our children. You know, I often wonder why we can't have scholarships available to send kids to the States or to the UK and give them an education and provide incentives for them to want to return to Guyana. A lot of people leave and they never want to go back, and that's sad. You know, I don't mean to bring this up, but this dress, it was made in Guyana. I was there a few weeks ago, and it's handmade, and someone like that, a young man, his name is Ryan Berkeley, you provide incentives for him to come over here, go to, you know, FIT, learn design, and then go back to Guyana and get him a little business started. And that's just one example. We have so many talented young people in Guyana, and I know that my grandmother would want more for them.
And I'm sure that dress is very beautiful, but it's because you're wearing it, it's even more beautiful. So, Vrinda, let's turn to your grandfather now. We have a very maybe uncomfortable situation, maybe not, in Guyana today, where the political party that he formed, the People's Progressive Party, is in government, and your father, Dr. Chetty Jagan Jr., has recently endorsed the coalition of two other parties against the party that your grandfather and grandmother formed. What do you think your grandfather, had he been alive today, would have said on this subject?
I thought I was supposed to be answering what his message would have been to the people. I guess we'll get back to that.
Well, you can add that in also.
Listen, my father is a very smart individual, and I'm sure whatever led him to the decision to endorse the opposition and the coalition party was a well thought out position. Whether my grandfather would have been upset or happy or what he would have felt, I don't know. All I know is that my grandfather would not have stood for any sort of corruption in any way. And I think anyone that said otherwise didn't know him at all or didn't understand his beliefs. My grandfather did not believe in corruption. He did not believe in filling his pockets. He believed in the betterment of the Guyanese people. Plain and simple. We all know that. It's nothing new that I'm offering. He believed in the betterment of the working class and for advancing Guyana. And, you know, I think it's irrelevant whether he would be happy or upset about my father. I think all he would want is for Guyana to progress in the right direction. Whether who's a part of what party and whoever wins, I think what he would have wanted was for whoever wins to go in the right direction. Whether it's the PPP given a second chance, he'd want them to go the right way this time. And if the opposition do win, he'd want them to go the right way as well. And I think it's as simple as that.
Okay, and now what message he would have given to the voters?
I think his message which I think would have been his message today, tomorrow, 10 years from now, would be national unity. I think he would be disappointed to see that we're still a divided country. Even abroad here in the diaspora, we're still kind of divided. And I think he would be advocating for a unity. He would probably say, guys, it's 2015. Let's get over it. Let's move on as one. And I think that's the right message to bring to our youth. They don't remember what it was like. You know, I'm from the, I'll consider myself a youth. Just, you know, makes me feel better.
You are.
But, you know, all I've ever really known from what I can remember is the PPP. Okay, so that's all I've ever known, and a lot of people are in my position. And I didn't grow up knowing racism. I don't see racism. To me, we're all one. We're all Guyanese. We shouldn't have to differentiate between Indo, Afro, whatever. We're all Guyanese. And I think, you know, he always felt that way, and I think he would feel that way today.
So in a summary, you say he's against corruption.
Of course.
And he wants the country to move forward. Or he would have liked.
He wants whichever party were to win,
he wants
them to move forward in the right direction. And for no tolerance for corruption, yes.
Okay, that means he's going to vote. He himself would have voted for the opposition.
That's yes.
Since you know the corruption is being
Listen,
labeled.
you can take whatever I say for whatever you want it to mean. I'm being honest because I'm a very honest person. At least I like to think that way.
All the Jagans.
You know, I had a client I spoke to yesterday. I said I'll be on a TV show, and he said just be yourself and be honest, and that's all I'm doing.
That's right.
But within history,
now, Mr. Lynch,
corruption does not.
No, we're coming over to you now. We're not
Okay.
talking about corruption here. We're going to ask you, because we're coming towards the end of the interview, please address the Guyanese viewers here, knowing that the elections is around the corner.
Well, knowing that the elections are around the corner
your message,
and
please?
being exposed to the Guyanese community, being from Irish descent, I've heard the same things, and I encourage the people to get out there and do what they can regarding action for change is to vote and to do what they feel is best for the country into improving these major issues as being recognized as one of the highest suicide rates, drug trafficking, a lot of major issues in which they keep talking about infrastructure, but what kind of structure will be placed? And the people must take that into their own hands.
Thank you very much. Your final word, Madam Vrinda Jagan.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for having us again. And to my fellow Guyanese, home and abroad, as I've said before, a lot of us are abroad, and we still work very hard for our Guyanese people. Now, my message is going to be a little different. Of course, everybody get out and vote, but what I'd like to ask of the Guyanese people is to remain peaceful. No matter what happens in the upcoming elections, violence is not the answer. It accomplishes nothing, and it only helps to halt any sort of progression in the country and for our people. So whatever happens, if the PPP wins, if the coalition wins, let's peacefully protest if you feel the need to, and don't become violent. That's all I ask. And get out and vote.
Thank you very much. Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure having you on the program Inside Guyana. Thank you for watching. You've just heard the final word, the final message from our special guests here today, the granddaughter of Dr. Chetty Jagan, Vrinda Jagan, the daughter of Dr. Chetty Jagan Jr. and Nadja Jagan. Also, we had in the studio here, we just heard from Mr. Kyle Thomas Lynch, a managing partner of the firm BaintonLynch, and Vrinda is also a partner in that same law firm here, providing services, legal services to the Guyanese community in addition to the other communities around. Once again, thank you for watching Inside Guyana, our program, our cameraman, Mr. Ravi, and our producer, Prakash, would also like me to say thank you very much for being on our program today. Until next time, this is yours truly, Dr. Rudy Jadoopat.